This is the Television Enthusiast Podcast, The Weekly Set.
Episode 37, recorded December 17th, 2015. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Weekly Set Podcast. This is the official podcast for TVEnthusiast.com. I am your host, Tyson, and joining me today is Will.
Hello.
We're missing Kat this week, but we're going to sludge on and carry on without her as best we can. So, today we're going to be talking about a little bit of news, a little bit of what we've been watching, and what's coming up for the next 3 weeks, because we're not going to be doing a podcast the next week or the week after, as you'd probably imagine, because we record these on Thursday. Next Thursday is the 24th, Christmas Eve. The Thursday after that is New Year's Eve. So I just don't imagine we're going to be recording podcasts on those days. So let's get started with the news. So there was a lot of news last week, a little bit less this week, but still some things worth getting a note on. Fargo season 2 came to an end, and that means that some discussion happened about the third season of Fargo. It has been revealed now that Fargo's third season will be set sometime around 2010 and will deal with selfie culture. Very strange sounding, but apparently the showrunner of the series felt that he wanted to kind of contrast the Minnesota-esque culture, the way things are there, with kind of like this self-obsessed culture that we have now in the current era, and how that it kind of just almost seems absurd the way they cross over. What's really interesting is that this same showrunner before, he has said that with like the first season of Fargo, it was mostly focused on, kind of recreating Fargo itself, the movie. And he said since then, he's kind of almost like he's working his way through the entire catalog of Coen Brothers, but doing them in a Fargo-esque way. So the second season had some parallels to, I believe it was Miller's Crossing, and it had some elements that were taken out of The Man Who Wasn't There. And so this one, I'm curious to see how it's going to reflect the Coen Brothers stuff. Will, what do you think of this idea? Selfie culture 2010 Fargo for season 3.
This could be very fun, especially if they're like trying to, consciously trying to emulate the style of like various Coen films. This sounds like it could be something more on a comedic bent, like more of their comedic films, like maybe Burn After Reading, which would be very interesting to see. I think.
When are we going to get the Big Lebowski season?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
So you're still early in on Fargo. You've just moved, so you've had some things you've been busy with, but the TV shows have come to an end, and that seems to be, is that your next target, is to burn through season 2 of Fargo?
Yep, that's target. Gotta buy up all the episodes on iTunes, just burn through them.
And I think you'll enjoy it. I think I was a little bit disappointed with the last episode. It's not that it was bad by any means, or like the way things concluded was bad. It's just that, they kind of did a Game of Thrones thing a bit, where like all the excitement came the episode before.
Oh, okay.
The last episode was just kind of things settling down or whatever. So, Fargo was good, and looking forward to season 3. I have no idea what to expect. Season 2 was so different. I ended up liking a lot more than season 1. And,
oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
it was
wow,
so good.
nice.
But it took a while to get into. Like, it took a few episodes before I really hooked.
Before I really hooked into it. I did enjoy the first 2 episodes I watched. But yeah, saying it's better than season 1, that's high praise.
There's stuff they do with like the whole 70s theme, and the way, like, they really kind of channel the era in a way that just works so well.
Yep.
So,
I'm still like in the second episode. Still like one of the things that's got me interested is like this whole like alien thing that they seem to be hinting at or underlying the season. I'm like, that's interesting because it doesn't seem related to anything, but I don't know. It's
that's
cool.
Actually was referenced because something like that happened in The Man Who Wasn't There, which was their like film noir one they did with the Coen Brothers did with Billy Bob Thornton.
Yep, I saw that.
And it had an alien thing too, like so he said that was kind of the reason he did it. Like he said he thought about doing it, and then he said, does this make any sense? And he said, well, one thing, there was kind of like a fear of that going on around that kind of area of the United States in like the 70s that existed, and then there was also the fact that the Coen Brothers had addressed it in another movie. And so he said that's my justification. He's
That's
like,
like-
go with it.
Okay, it seemed like such a weird thing to add story, so I was kind of like wondering that from. So that's
Yeah.
kind of cool.
It pops up again. It never takes too much dominance, which is good. It kind of stays. It's kind of like, what the fuck?
It's good. Yeah, it should stay like that because it adds like interesting element to it, and I don't think it should be explored too heavily because it's there and it's like that's cool. I don't know, just something that's cool.
Our next piece of news, Black Mirror. This is one of my favorite shows. This is Charlie Brooker's Twilight Zone-esque show about technology from the UK. A while ago, it was picked up by Netflix, and they announced they were going to be doing 12 episodes, which made everybody go, wait, what? That show's only had 3 episodes a season, you know? So there's 12 episodes. They never said it was a 12-episode season, so we have no idea what that means. That could be 12 episodes over 4 years. But apparently they have made their first casting choices. They've added Mackenzie Davis, who is kind of the standout from the show Halt and Catch Fire. And they also added an actress, and I'm going to butcher her name, and I apologize, Gugu Mbatha-Raw, who is heavily rumored to be in Star Wars Episode 8.
Okay.
So this would be kind of like a Black Mirror trend of predicting new Star Wars characters, because Episode 7 of Star Wars is going to feature, God, I can't just know his name. It's going to feature an actor who was in Black Mirror, who was also in Deus Ex.
John Boyega?
Ex Machina. And also in Harry Potter, Gleason. I'm trying to remember his name.
Oh, okay.
Dom Gleason, something like that. But he's going to be in Episode 7, apparently. And now we have somebody else in Black Mirror that's going to be in Episode 8. So all I'm saying is pay attention to Black Mirror casting. They're your new Star Wars character.
They're your new Star Wars.
But yeah, I'm totally excited every time I hear something new about Black Mirror.
Mads Mikkelsen to be in Rogue One, so.
Yeah. And Doctor Strange. Nothing got through to Disney's heart more than Hannibal.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, apparently. That's great. Apparently Marvel was trying to get him for a movie for a while because they wanted him to be the villain in Thor: The Dark World, and then that didn't pan out.
Would have been ways.
Yeah, probably would.
I think Christopher Eccleston for that, played the villain in Dark World, and Eccleston's a good actor, worst villain in the whole MCU. That would have been a total waste. I don't think Mads even would have been able to breathe enough life into that. It was a dull character from the concept.
It was just a dull character. It was a pretty dull movie overall.
If you're gonna cast Mads, you want something he can sink his teeth into. See what I did there?
Yeah, see what I did there. So hopefully his role in Doctor Strange that.
And apparently he's also going to be playing the crazy neighbor chef on Fuller House. You told me this piece of news.
Yep. Gourmet chef's amazing meals that DJ can't quite figure out what the main ingredient is.
Will's of course kidding. This is a joke he told me before that I actually completely bought into. I was like, really? He's going to be it? It's like, then he's like laughed and I went, oh, okay. I'm like, I might actually watch Fuller House.
It would be totally amazing.
Yeah, it'd be worth it just for even if it was just subtle little joke, not worth it. Let's see here. Next piece of news. Kiefer Sutherland is re-teaming up with some of his producers from 24 to make a new series on ABC called Designated Survivor, in which he plays POTUS, the President of the United States. And that's the kind of main crux of that.
Oh, Jack Bauer's the president now?
Yeah.
This is gonna be awesome.
It's gonna be a conspiracy thriller, political conspiracy thriller. So
now I actually watch 24 where Jack Bauer is elect president and kicks ass as the president. It's
Jack Bauer is played by
as David Hayter.
Yeah. Sweet revenge.
Sweet revenge. Basically, he just plays solid as Nick.
Yeah. So I don't know if this will be any good. I mean, you're basically getting all the people involved in 24 back together to do a conspiracy thriller. Sounds like 24, but maybe Kiefer's a little too old now to be doing.
I would say I have a feeling it's going to be like 24, but not as over the top as 24. It's probably going to be like more grounded, less action. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be more like the conspiracy thriller side. He'll be more like a Raymond Reddington than a Jack Bauer, I guess.
Yeah,
but he's the president. So,
he's the president, so
yeah, he'll just say cryptic things and order things, and things will get done.
Yeah.
Let's see what else we got here. Celebrity Deathmatch is coming back. This is kind of exciting. I was talking to you earlier, and I was saying how I really like Celebrity Deathmatch, but it wore thin after a while.
I watched maybe like the ep of that back when it was on,
and that's about enough you need for it to wear thin.
Yeah.
A few of the matches alone is kind of like all you. So I'm hoping this is brought back in a very limited way, so they don't print it all out again. I'm hoping they also don't play too nice, because that's a kind of a recent issue where like we have all these celebrities that we hate kind of somewhat willing to make fun of themselves as long as it doesn't cross a line. So they'll actually voice like parodies of themselves, but they don't go too far, you know? So I'm hoping we don't get that kind of new wave territory version of Celebrity Death. I'm hoping we get the full on like, you know, no, we all hate Justin Bieber and want to punish severe kind of Celebrity Death. But
yeah, but Justin Bieber, if he's involved, he's actually a good sport about that kind of like stuff, like surprisingly.
Yeah, like, he did a stint on what was it, a long time ago on Funny or Die.
Yeah,
where he was kind of self-parroting. But there's a lot of that stuff, like I said, where they do that, but there's certain lines they don't cross when they
right, certain they don't cross.
And I'm hoping they don't do that. I'm hoping they go South Park style and just go balls out.
Just go balls out, yeah.
But most of all, I hope that when they do this, they do it as a very limited thing, because too much of a good thing gets old very fast. And
yeah,
Celebrity Deathmatch is a perfect example. I was saying earlier, I think it would be great if they did it. It's like an end of the year thing. Every year they do like a half-hour special and kind of take all the people that pissed everyone off in the death.
Yeah, deathmatch them.
Be kind of a nice little way to feel good about ourselves after all the shit we got put through by, you know, they could put in the, you know, Wall Street brokers that ruined our lives.
What's your ideal Celebrity Deathmatch?
Oh, yeah, I don't know. Gotta do like a tag team with Justin Bieber and Miley Cyrus, since they're like the same person, if you've ever seen their faces like put next to each other.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I don't know, maybe taken on by the singer of the Cranberries, because she had a big feud with Miley Cyrus.
Oh really?
And somebody
like
else.
Such an odd, like I haven't heard of the Cran since like the 90s ended.
Apparently the singer of the Cranberries reached out. No, it wasn't the singer of the Cranberries. What am I talking about? I'm stupid. Sorry. It was Sinead O'Connor.
Oh, okay.
Sinead O'Connor had reached out to Miley Cyrus basically because of what Miley Cyrus had been doing and like kind of her weird, desperate action she's been doing recently. Basically saying like, hey, don't let, you know, the industry do this to you and stuff. And then Miley Cyrus like lashed out back, even though like Sinead O'Connor was kind of doing it out of concern.
Right.
So it'd be funny to kind of see something like that, but well, I don't know. I'm not really in on the current trends of stuff that much. So. Right. Donald Trump's gotta be in there.
Well, yeah.
Because he's huge.
Huge. The most luxurious death match ever.
So yeah, that's gotta happen. Of course, like I imagine if they do it, they're gonna do like the whoever's the front runners for the presidential race at the time. Like Hillary and Trump or something, you know. I doubt Trump's gonna be the Republican pick. But you gotta imagine something like it's gonna happen.
Right, yeah, definitely.
Any people you'd like to see fight to the death in claymation?
Drawing a blank right now.
We're too old.
We are too old.
We're not in the pop culture zeitgeist.
No, sorry. I don't know who J-Lo was feuding with this week. I'm sorry. Just not that hip with it.
So our last news piece, Mystery Science Theater 3000 is coming back in some form that we do not know yet what it is. It has broken Veronica Mars record on Kickstarter, though. It has pulled in nearly $6 million on Kickstarter.
It's coming back as a vaudeville show.
Well, we don't know if it's going to be on TV or if it's going to be on YouTube or, you know, it's going to have its own weird distribution. We have no idea. But we do know that the people involved are going to include Patton Oswalt, who's kind of most people's favorite geek comedian. Felicia Day, who's kind of got her start with the Guild and a very geeky web series. So she's like the internet geek superstar.
Right.
And is going to have guest writing done by Dan Harmon of Community and Rick and Morty. So that's good news all around. You were an MST3K fan. Does any of this interest you? I know it's not the same people, but I mean, you're talking Patton Oswalt and Felicia Day. It's still probably going to be pretty funny. Harmon's a really good writer.
Yeah, Harmon's right, but those people aren't MST3K to me.
Yeah.
Like they're funny people and they're big names and I respect them. It's just like, that's not MST.
Mm-hmm.
I just hope they keep the spirit of the show, the heart, soul of it, which is like, sure, it's like, there's terrible movies. Sure, it's people making fun of terrible movies, but there was like also this quality to it because of like the characters that they invented for the show, and like sometimes like storylines like Dr. Forrester and the bot. So the show like outside of the Riffing had its own unique personality that I think is also one of the more endearing aspects of it, and I think it's a large reason why it's so beloved. And I just hope it manages to keep that, because you can have Patton Oswalt making jokes at bad movies all day, but if there's no bot, there's no Dr. Forrester, it's not Mystery Theater.
Yeah, we'll have to see how it actually comes out. I have a feeling, Joel's so heavily involved in this, for him not to actually make an appearance would be kind of weird. So, right. I kind of have a feeling that they're going to be, there's going to be more than we're expecting, that they're just kind of holding those cards close to that.
Yep, definitely. I would say I am cautiously upset.
Mm-hmm.
I really hope that they knock this out of the park, because I love Mystery Theater dearly. I'd love to see it return, so much, and so I am rooting, but it's with trepidation because it's not going to be the same MST3K that we had.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to what we've been watching in the past week. So you finally caught up on Supernatural's last season.
Yes.
So you haven't watched any of the current, right?
Well, I did watch the mid-season finale last night, just because I had nothing else to do, like literally. But I just happened to turn on TV and there it was. So I'm like, okay, I'm watching this. Which it seems like they're doing some interesting stuff in new season now, because apparently the darkness is this disease, or it can infect people and drive them to murderous. And I'm like,
I don't think that was the mid-season finale.
Was it? I don't know. It was the episode that was on last night, and they showed a preview of the next Supernatural and said it was coming back in like mid-January.
But Supernatural finished last week, so that might have been the first episode of the new season.
Oh, that might have been the first episode. It really did seem like
because that didn't sound like the events from
it. It didn't seem like I missed much.
Like Lucifer played heavily into the mid now.
Okay, so Lucifer wasn't in this episode. No, they just them in passing, and so maybe this was the first episode after, because there was a lot of ref to what happened season finale last season that I just watched, so there were a ton of ref to that, and there was
let's talk in more generals before we talk more about this season, because you just finished last season.
Yeah, I just finished last season.
We haven't talked about that yet. So, what are your thoughts on last season?
Awesome. It went from okay to oh my god, this is the best season of Supernatural in a long while. I mean, what a roller coaster.
Since season 5.
And what's surprising, it didn't even have typical arc long big bad you would expect, because the show, the season kind of went back and forth on supposed big bads. The beginning of the season had that one guy who decided that Dean was evil and needed to be killed, and then they wrapped that up fairly quickly. And then you got Rowena, who was being built up as this big character, but she's sort of in the background mostly. And then towards the end, you got a really cool villain in the Stein family. It was a really creepy villain. And I guess the big bad of the season, main big bad, was actually Dean, because Dean's slow spiral and descent, and the way they played it was perfect too, because it is this gradual thing until you get to the end of the season where he's just completely off the reservation by the end of it. And the way they played it was like perfect. And I thought, and the last few episodes just had me on the edge of my seat. So I just thought they executed it really well. And it was like a roller coaster ride because it starts slow and then you go down that dip. And then, I just love this last season and I haven't.
And you're like, let's go again.
Let's go again. Exactly. I just love this I don't think I've loved a season of Supernatural that much since the 5th season ended. And
of course, for anybody that's not as aware about Supernatural, the whole series had like a 5-season arc, and it ended, and then it just kind of kept going. And now there have been more seasons. There have been more seasons past the arc than there were of the original arc, which is kind of interesting.
This past season that I watched 10, so it's been like equal amount of seasons to like the original 5-season arc.
Past it.
Yeah, they're in 11, so now they passed it. Yeah.
But it's
like they did a 5-season arc, and then did another 5. Now we're starting another 5 sprint.
Yeah. And this 5 seasons is kicking off on a good point, so.
Yes.
A decent arc, it's building up what you got kind of in a villain in this. I was a little disappointed in the, mid-season premiere, which is, I believe, what you did see, or the season premiere, which is, I believe, what you did see, with the way they handled the darkness being like this sickness that's kind of spreading. I was kind of like, I thought this much, but it goes in places that are much better as it goes on.
Okay, I thought that was less because I'm like, okay, well, they never done something like that in Supernatural where they're dealing with like kind of a supernatural disease or virus.
They did a little bit. They had the Croatoan virus.
Oh yeah, that's Croatoan virus. I kind of forgot about that.
Yeah, but this is that aspect. There's more to the darkness, thankfully.
Right. Okay.
You get more of that as it goes on. You start getting more into the darkness, and it's interesting. Yeah, and there's some good concept episodes too. There's an episode coming up that the whole episode takes place from the perspective of the car. Great episode. It worked. When I say perspective of the car, I just mean like every shot is from inside the car. So it's like, if you see something happening, outside the car, you're seeing it like through the window of the car or something. And it it really works. Like, the way it's all together really.
Nice. Yeah. Definitely. I'm looking forward to that. Well, I'm looking forward to it being put up on Netflix since I can't watch like the first half of Hulu being a poop head. But I'll watch all Netflix so I can watch it because I decided now that that's the best way to watch Supernatural.
To binge it.
Yeah.
So certain shows that works better with.
Yeah, exactly. That's one of them.
So, moving on from Supernatural, I got a chance to watch first episode of The Magician, which was a sneak peek. It officially comes out next year, but they had a sneak peek of it commercial free, on, SyFy on, Wednesday night. So I taped it, checked it out, watched it, DVR'd it. We're old school. We remember VHS. But yeah, I DVR'd it, watched it again. So in some ways. Some ways I really liked it, some ways I didn't. There's this interesting parallel to Harry Potter where like the way the show starts is almost exactly the way like Harry Potter starts, with like this, like the headmaster of the school and somebody else meeting to discuss this problem that's gonna occur or something, which is exactly how Harry Potter started. So it's kind of interesting that they have that parallel because, I think The Magicians was written kind of in response to Harry Potter as like this kind of more adult take on that subject matter. So it's interesting that they kind of ate almost like
interesting or plagiarism?
No, it's very different the way it's handled, but it's kind of cool actually. I really liked it. So it goes through, it has its ups and downs, like I said. It starts to explore kind of real kind of dark, weird territory. It always kind of falls into that. Like magic seems less controlled than it is in a lot of other things, like they can use magic, but there's always this idea that like they don't really know completely what's going on or what they're doing. Like there's kind of like just tapping into something,
Fun fact, protagonist in the 1980s movie Troll is a young boy named Harry Potter.
That's part of the canon.
That's part of the canon, yeah.
But yeah, so where I really got hooked on the show was in its kind of final moment. In the final moments of the episode, there's a villain that kind of shows up. I won't spoil too much about why he shows up or how or what's going on, but he just wreaks havoc when he shows, I mean, just completely goes crazy and starts, doing all sorts of crazy nut stuff. His face is completely covered in like these giant moths, that are just kind of swarming around him. He kind of dances when he moves. It's really weird. It's unsettling in that way that like you'd expect from like a late 90s like Japanese survival horror game to be. Like you could see him as like a Silent Hill villain or like a Fatal Frame villain or something, showing up with just weird stuff. Like it's just kind of fast. And it really makes me go like, okay, I really want to see where this goes from this point on.
Yep.
So yeah, I felt so about it, and then that ending just blew my mind. So I'm really excited to see where things go. Yeah, that's The Magicians on SyFy. Next up, tell me a little bit about Once Upon a Time. You watched the season finale.
Oh, yeah.
Or the mid-season finale.
Yeah, I watched bad. Bad Once Upon a Time. Bad.
It's too bad we don't have Cat.
Yeah. That, like, legit me upset. Okay, so basically what had been happening in Once Upon a Time, Emma was supposed to be the big bad for this half of the season, but they totally reneged on that at the last minute because I guess turning Emma into a villain, I guess nobody behind the show was committed to that idea apparently because it doesn't happen. People also pointed out like some things, and when I thought about it, I'm like, yeah, they did. Like at the beginning of the season, there's a scene where Emma's like a little girl in a movie theater, and Merlin shows up as an usher, tells her in the future to not remove Excalibur from the stone because bad things happen. Then later on at the end of the season, she totally takes Excalibur out of the stone, and nothing happened, like at all. And I'm like, okay, what's the point of that warning? Because like nothing literally happened.
The writers.
Yeah, the writers. Martin Inglings like that. One of the grossest they did was they decided at the last minute that Hook was going to be a dark one too, and he was going to be the actual villain for the end of the end of this half of the season.
So how does this work? How is it spread onto two people instead of one?
Because apparently the Dark One dagger is a piece of Excalibur, and so they have Excalibur's sword, the dagger, and they're two pieces of the same thing. So the Dark One is bound dagger, but then you can also bind the Dark Excalibur. So what ends up happening is that while Emma is bound dagger as a Dark One, she ends up using Excalibur to bind the Darks to Hook through Excalibur. So now Hook is a Dark One too.
That just doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't.
That is just like a weird retcon.
It is a weird retcon because they didn't want to commit to Emma being the villain, so they had to turn around. So the writers had to swerve and make somebody else the villain all out of nowhere, all of a sudden. And I'm like, and that's part of what made this like so freaking awful because for the entire first half, like this part of the season, Hook is like trying to save Emma from the dark, and he's all concerned about her. And then towards the last couple episodes, all of a sudden he's a mustache whirling villain, and it's like. It's the weirdest fucking heel turn ever. And I'm like, and then it just gets worse with this last episode because it just totally shows the writers aren't committed to anything anymore. Because first of all, Hook has this plan where he summoned all the Dark Ones that ever existed, and they've marked everybody in Storybrooke, and they're going to drag them to the underworld, which Rumpelstiltskin describes as the worst place in the world. Like the underworld is suffering so bad, you will pray for death, and then you will realize that it has already come. And then that's how Rumpelstiltskin literally described it. And so they're trying to stop Hook sending everybody to the underworld. Finally, like at the end, Henry or something gives this speech or something, and then Hook suddenly changes his mind because of Henry's speech. And then Emma kills Hook with Excalibur by driving it through him. And it's this big dramatic scene because, they have this moment, where Hook forgives Emma, and it is so powerful and dramatic. And I thought, well, that's good. But then they turn around and ruin it right away because right after he dies, Emma's like, I'm going to the underworld to save Hook. I'm like, What? And then another thing is that thing because Emma killed right after Emma kills Hook. Hook dies, stops being a Dark One because she's destroyed the darkness. So you think, oh, well, that's cool. They kind of got rid of the Dark One now. That's a bold. And then it turns out that like Rumpelstiltskin is the Dark One once because he plotted because he secretly plotted to get the dark back in him for like no reason. And I'm like,
oh yeah.
So any changes that they did make, they just immediately retcon, and it's like, wow, why am I still watching?
Hey, well, at least they're going to the underworld, right? That should be an exciting place.
Oh yeah, it is sepia toned Storybrooke, literally.
That really is the worst possible place.
Really, yeah,
It's come true.
And from the preview that they showed, it doesn't look like anybody is praying for death in the world. It's nothing like Hook described it, or Rumpelstiltskin described it, but maybe the writers forgot there too.
Well, so let's move on from Once Upon a Time. I had a chance to watch Childhood End. I've watched the entire miniseries. I put up an impressions piece about it. You can check out. It's interesting. I'm familiar with the book before the mini, so it's been interesting reading people's comments on like other reviews and basically descriptions of the series and the way people are talking about it, and how many people just kind of didn't seem to get like what the actual kind of twist of the story was. And I'm not sure if it's like it shows kind of that they just don't get it, or if it's on the fault of the people that made the miniseries, because I already knew the twist. I already knew that going in, so I'm not going to be lost by it. It's not going to be a situation where I'm like, oh, what does this mean? I don't get it or something. I knew it going in, so it's hard for me to tell where the mistake is. If the mistake is in the people that just didn't get it and it was maybe explained better in the book, or if it's just the fact that they were just dense and didn't get it,
Right, totally.
So are you okay with me spoiling Childhood End for you?
Go ahead.
Okay, so the big twist at the end, let's say right off the bat, okay? If anybody is interested in watching Childhood End and they are not aware of the book and they still want to watch it, I am going to spoil it for the next, let's say 5 minutes, okay? So just avoid this part if you have any interest in watching Childhood End without spoil, okay? And now I'm going to start. The big ending of the first episode was that they finally revealed who these benevolent aliens were, or what they look like, and their appearance. And their appearance is that of like demons. So these overlord aliens, the reason why they were hiding their appearance for so long is because they look like demons. Red, they're giant, they have cloven feet, horns, and giant leathery wings. It's like a biblical, it's like what you'd see a painting of the red dragon, or that's what they look like. So that they get into detail about why they look like that, but the big point where people are confused is that at the end they're like, oh, so this is just a race of aliens that look like demons that just came to Earth to destroy it all and plunge everyone into despair for absolutely no reason. It's like, no, that's not what they did. They're like facilitators of mankind's evolution, and They come along and they kind of point things in the right direction for mankind to evolve into this form of energy that's like this called like the Overmind. They're like the overlords, and these are the Overmind, and it's a singular entity. It's kind of like the idea of like Nirvana,
Right.
It's like the singular spirit that everything's a part of or something. And mankind is meant to kind of evolve into that, and so that it doesn't evolve in a way that there's like anger and regrets and stuff with the way it moves forward. The overlords have to kind of create an environment where mankind can evolve in like the best way possible. They make it so that they're, mankind's already going to evolve, but they make it so that mankind basically has utopia before this happens. And they do it knowing that, these children are going to evolve. The problem there is that the children evolve, but not the people before them. It's not like older people all of a sudden become part of this one spirit or anything. So basically, the children all kind of go away. They kind of float away, and then everyone's miserable, and it's like...
Hence the title, Child's Dead.
Yeah, and it's like like mass suicides. Just people are so depressed because their futures have been ripped away. It's like there's nothing left for them. They can no longer have children. Their children are gone. Their future is limited. It's coming to an end. One of the main characters stows away on an alien ship because he wants to kind of find out if there's something he can do to help mankind. This is like before, I believe, the children disappeared and everything. He thinks it's going to be a few months he's gone. He finds out, he makes it all the way to the Overlord's planet, finds out that he's been on the ship for 40 years. And the Overlords basically say, yeah, Earth's over. You're like the last human. And they go back to Earth, and the children are finishing up their evolution. They're finishing their evolution into this like singular entity. And he decides, they say, you can stay with us and continue to live on as the last human. And he says no, that he wants to go back to Earth because he has nothing else. Like everything's gone. Like the woman he loved is dead. Everything's gone. And he goes on Earth and he volunteers to basically describe everything to them. Because the Earth's going to be destroyed. When mankind evolves into the spiritual energy, it destroys everything. It's like a super, it just destroys everything in its way. So, Earth is going to be gone, the whole planet. So, he goes to Earth and he's like describing it to him on the ground, like what things are looking like. And he has this last minute of regret where he says, you have to save something. And they're like, save what? And he said, something. Mankind can't just disappear without us meaning it. And so the Overlords kind of search his mind and they find this moment when he used to listen to classical music, and they save classical music and they put it so that it's playing in this area of the universe for any species that travels through that. They'll hear like music from Earth, and the Earth is gone, and that's it. It's a kind of depressing ending. It's good, but like depressing. The idea is that they're evolving into the species as pure kind of intelligence, but it's a pure intelligence without any need of art, culture. So it's like, it really is just kind of death,
Oh, yeah. Thanks.
So that's kind of what Childhood End is about. And the reason why the Overlords look like demons is because of kind of like psychic energy that it's the idea that like time is circular and psychic energy travels around in time. And it's kind of like we associated them with the end of our reign. And so our ideas of like demon stuff all stemmed from this like psychic phobia we had of what our end was going to look. And that's why they look like demons.
Oh, okay.
So this is like what Childhood End is about. It's what the book was about, and it's what the miniseries is about. It's a very interesting story because it's an alien invasion story, and it ends with basically the destruction of all of mankind. I mean, there's not a single survivor left, no Earth alive, except for this pure energy which is no longer human. But it's not about like a violent destruction at all. It's about them basically helping us evolve, but that's not necessarily a good thing in all ways. And I felt what was really interesting about the way they did it is that it kind of is a symbol of change. It's about how scary change, how it's like both the death of something and the beginning of something. And I feel that we're like at a point now where we're in a change, like not to that degree, obviously. We're not evolving into pure energy, but we're in a change in the sense that like retail outlets are like dying out because of the internet, And, so we have these huge futures opening up, avenues opening up in the future, but then we have all these businesses closing down. And so it's like we have this one way of life existed for so long that's coming to an end, and another way of life that's rising. And it's exciting that we have this new kind of way of life that's rising and coming up for us, but it's also kind of depressing because we're losing this way of life we have before.
Right.
And I think it lands at the right point. I mean, Childhood End originally came out in the 50s, which was again a huge cultural shift. If you look at, between the 50s and the 60s, how much changed in the world,
Right.
I think it's a good parallel time. I think it's a good time for a story like this to kind of come in again. It just seems that a lot of people that watch it just
Yep, definitely.
So, do you have any interest in Childhood End now that I've spoiled the whole thing for you?
Yeah, it sounds really interesting.
I have to be honest, I cried several times in the last episode. It is kind of emotional because it's the idea of like, our art being gone. And when the guy's like begging, the last Earthling is begging, you have to save something. We have to have meant something in the end. It's really emotional because anybody can relate, the idea that like you want some kind of a legacy left behind of you, but then you multiply that. You want some legacy of your entire race left behind,
Right. Yeah. You want some legacy of your entire race left behind. That's really interesting.
Yeah, so it's a very bittersweet, sad story. One thing I can say is that I like the way it's 3 episodes, 3 clear arcs, and it was like that in the book too. The book had 3 clear arcs, and each arc feels very different. Like the first arc is very much full of like wonder. It's like the idea of like, who are these aliens? What's going on? What does our future bring? You know? And the second episode is very tense. It's very like, what have we gotten ourselves into? You know, what's going on? What are their real intentions? You know, are they going to enslave us? What, you know, there's a lot of fear and tension. And then the last episode is like depression. It's like, this is the end, you know? It's like the slow roll to the end, slow march to our doom. And, it's that moment of change. So it's really fascinating the way they put the whole thing together. It's well done. A lot of the staff, the main writer and director of the miniseries had both worked on like Doctor Who in the past. So it kind of has a little bit of a Doctor Who feel to it. It doesn't get as cheesy. It's not as fun, obviously. But it has a little bit of that feel to it, especially in the second episode, the way like, you know, the Doctor's never gonna die. And the Doctor, he doesn't use violence, you know? But in that same way, a Doctor Who episode can feel incredibly tense.
Right.
Even without like actual violence, you know, oftentimes the aliens aren't even committing violence. Usually like some misunderstanding, some other situation. And in that way, Child to End's second episode actually kind of feels like some of the more tense episodes of Doctor Who, where you get that feeling of like, oh, this is something very tense going on, even though there's no like violence at all.
Right.
So yeah, it's very good.
Nice.
So, that's the end of what we've been watching this week. Now we are going to discuss what is coming up. We normally discuss what's coming up in the next week, but as I said earlier in the podcast, we are not going to be here, until next podcast recording is going to be on the 7th. So we're going to be talking about the stuff coming up before the 7th of January, because that's what's going to be coming up before we get to talk to you guys again. So first up, let's see here, January 1st on Friday, the Sherlock special is coming. Are you excited for this? I know you watch Sherlock.
Yeah, definitely. It's Sherlock in the Victorian era. I think this is going to be really, really special and fun, even if it's not related to anything in the actual series.
You need your Cumberbatch fix.
Right? You need, yes, I need the botch.
So yeah, we're going to get our, Cumberbatch and Martin Freeman fix coming with Sherlock. It's Victorian special, so it's more like traditional Sherlock, but of course it's going to have the wit, so it'll be exciting to watch. The actual name of the episode is The Abominable Bride. So,
nice.
January 3rd, we're getting a lot of shows returning from the mid-season, The Simpsons, Family Guy. Bordertown, I think this is its premiere. This is another Seth MacFarlane show.
Oh, yep.
It's probably going to have a lot of casual racism in it.
Yep. I saw it's not impressed. Okay.
There's also a new series called Cooper Barrett's Guide to Surviving Life, which the best thing I can say about it, the name immediately makes me think of Parker Lewis.
Right? That's totally the first thing that popped in my head. And if the show
Steelers Day Off.
if this show is similar to either of those things, this will be great.
It's the name alone excites us.
I know, right? Yeah.
It could be like 2.5 Men Bad. We're like still excited because it has a name that reminds us of the past.
It's like, that is a great sitcom that evokes great 80s and early 90s comedies.
On that same night, Gallivant is returning. Did you watch the first of Gallivant?
I watched like 3 episodes. I wasn't too impressed with it. I guess the humor kind of fell flat.
It was kind of a mixed bag. I think certain parts were really funny, and some of the songs were really good, and then some of it just ragged. Like maybe it would have been better if it was like half it.
Yeah. That's a lot of it just ragged. I'm like, I just thought it could stay funnier, maybe wittier. Maybe it did in the latter half season.
It was always a mixed bag. There were like, you know, from the very first episode, there were parts that were good and parts were bad throughout the whole thing.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
All the way to the end. So one thing we can say is, I think we both agree that, Timothy, Omundson as King Richard.
He was great.
Highlight of the whole series.
Yes, the absolutely.
Vinny Jones, his personal night too. It's really funny.
What absolute delight.
Yeah.
I wanted to watch Long Weird Al.
Did
I did not.
Okay, his part was so small, it wasn't.
Oh, really? Because
It wasn't really worth it. I was excited to see Ricky Gervais in it, and his part was pretty small too.
Oh, yeah, because they hyped the hell out of the fact that Weird Al was going to be in it.
Yeah.
And so, that's sad.
I'm hoping that when they come back, they can do it in a way that's addresses many of the concerns people had with the first season. And if they just go for the funny right off the bat. I think they tried to kind of make the story a bit more human and stuff. And then it wasn't really working that well, and I think they should have just stuck more on the ridiculous side. They were really trying to do the Princess Bride, and that's what they were trying to do with Galavant.
Yeah.
Where you're attached to the characters, but you're also laughing.
Right.
The problem is you weren't laughing enough.
Yeah, it did pull off the Prince Bride thing as well as the actual Prince Bride. So, I don't know, maybe not try to be the Princess Bride.
I'm excited to where it goes with the second season. I definitely think a lot of shows will start off rough and then get better.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Like S.H.I.E.L.D. did.
Yeah. So it'll be cool to see if something happens. I like some of the other cast too. I can't remember the names, but the guy who played the cook was really funny. The king's cook, this young boy that was his dad was killed by the king because the king leaves, and he was still working and loyal, and it was really funny. And he had a little romance storyline that was actually kind of cute. So, to see what comes from that. The next day, 2 days later, on Tuesday, January 5th, a few more shows that are returning. Another mid-season returns: The New Girl, Grandfathered, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and The Grinder. Brooklyn Nine-Nine moving away from Sundays, Tuesdays. I really like Brooklyn Nine-Nine. It's basically Parks and Rec with cops. It's always funny. You watch New Girl still, right?
No, I actually haven't watched a lot of New Girl.
Okay, I thought you had. Is it recently you stopped, or did you just never watch it?
No, I watched half her season, and then some random episodes here and there after. I never really watched it. It was one of those shows I always wanted to get into because I genuinely enjoyed what I saw of it. It's just one of those shows I never got a chance to watch regularly.
I don't think it holds up past.
Oh, really?
I think I watched the first maybe 2.5 seasons, and then I was out.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd recommend if you want to get into a comedy, try maybe Parks and Rec or Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Really good. Parks and Rec has a rough first season. Brooklyn Nine-Nine's pretty much funny.
Well, I don't see too much praise for New Girl, especially
and Kat hates Zoe Deschanel.
Oh my god!
If she was here, she'd be like,
Zoe Deschanel is my waifu. Let's not besmirch my waifu. What? Yeah, she was on.
She was my waifu when I saw what was it? Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Oh yes. That's great. I was just reading the latest book in that series yesterday, and I was thinking about that. I was like,
is that the one written by Jon Colfer?
Yes.
I love that writer. He writes children's books, but he always has so much wit. You're right.
Yeah. Yes, and I was thinking about that again. And I was like, Martin Freeman as Arthur Dent, as Zoe Deschanel as Trillian. That's some inspired casting.
What's his name? Professor Snape as the robot, the depressed robot.
Professor Snape as the depressed robot. I just think, man, that movie actually has inspired casting.
Yeah.
It's a damn shame it never. Yeah, damn shame it never got a sequel.
Yeah. Also on that same day, on Tuesday, January 5th, we have the next big fantasy series on TV. So, fantasy is back. It took 5 years to copy Game of Thrones.
It took 5 years.
But the other networks are starting to get the gist that people want some fantasy. So,
you want some fancy in their lives.
So this one is actually coming to MTV, and surprisingly looks the best of the ones that are coming up, which I never thought I'd say about an MTV TV series, but the Shannara Chronicle.
Yeah.
Which features Manu Bennett.
Manu Bennett.
In probably a very small role, but it's the
greatest of all time. But it's like Manu Bennett, Crixus, and Spartacus, and then he was Deathstroke on Arrow, so I feel like...
And now he is our savior. And
yeah, now he's our, God, I feel like this man can do no wrong.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I will watch the thing that Manu Bennett is in.
He was also in The Hobbit, which is something I didn't realize until after I'd seen it.
Oh, okay.
He was the villain, what's it called? He was the big, albino orc.
Yeah.
He was a mostly CG villain, but yeah, I had no idea it was him, and I found out. I was like, oh, really? So yeah, that's going to be January 5th. Wednesday, January 6th, we have some more mid-season returns with The Modern Family and Blackish. Two good comedies, not like must-watch, but like catch an episode here and there, and they're really funny shows. We also have the return of American Crime, which is an anthology series, not to be confused with American Crime Story, which is a new anthology series. This is going to be season 2 of American Crime, which is it's a seasonal anthology series. The first one dealt heavily with kind of race issues. This one focuses on a basketball team. I heard rape being thrown around in reference to like a male character being raped, I think, and I don't know what's going on. I don't know if they're going to deal with gender issues and kind of discrimination on that, you know, with the idea of men being raped, or if they're going to deal with pedophilia, or what's going to happen. I have no idea. Probably going to deal with race issues again, because that's a very common theme in the first one. First season was pretty good. A little too on the nose at times, but good. So that's coming back. You didn't watch American Crime, did you?
No.
Okay. So yeah, it's okay. It's not going to be for everyone. It does feel a little bit on the preachier side of shows that handle issues like that, which some people really hate. What else we got? Madden Seeking Woman is coming back to FFX. This is a series that I really wanted to watch and just missed some reason. It's got Jay Baruchel in it, and he plays a guy he's trying to date and get out there, and it takes on this very surreal thing, like where he's dating like trolls, and like, you know, it's all like these mystical kind of elements of like, I guess, kind of, you know, his imagination perspective of what the day's like. So it's all this kind of like really surreal stuff, and I've been wanting to watch it, and then of course, you know, I'm like, okay, I'll find it on Hulu and I can watch it. Not there.
Really?
So I'm like, God damn it. So now it finally hit Hulu. The first.
Okay, I was gonna say, because the last time I was like on Hulu watching Queens, they were like advertising it pretty heavily.
It just hit Hulu.
Okay.
So it hit Hulu in the way that stuff normally hits Netflix.
Oh, okay.
Right, it doesn't hit Hulu in the way stuff normally hits Hulu, as in the season's currently going, but I can catch up, so I'll watch on Hulu. It doesn't work that way. It's like it's right before the new season's starting, so the old is up on.
Oh, okay.
So I'm gonna check that out. I'm excited about it.
Yeah, I'm gonna check that out first I get too, because it was like you. It seemed interesting to me, and I totally missed it. Just passed by.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna check that out as soon as I get a chance.
So I'm gonna start watching that probably sometime around Christmas. I know my sister wants to watch it, so I might start watching it with her. And then if I like it, I'll keep watching it and move on to season 2. If not, then I'll have something to talk about on the podcast.
Yeah.
And then we have something coming back that you like. This is a show that I've only seen some kind of random episodes here and there for. And I like it, but I never got like into it. And then It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Oh, yeah, I love that show.
January 6th, I believe this is its 11th season, like Supernatural, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's in the double digits somewhere.
That's crazy to think about when you think about it. God, I remember.
It's always such a fringe show, too.
It's always been such a fringe show, too. And it's like, I remember when it first like premiered, I didn't think this was going to be an 11 season show.
You thought it was going to be half of the season.
Yeah, pretty much.
Cancellation.
Pretty much. Too good to live, apparently. But it did. And there's already so many classic moments.
I just liked watching them all do all the things where they were trying to remake or make a new Lethal Weapon.
Yeah.
So that was like a running theme throughout a bunch of the episodes I saw. So yeah. So you're excited about its return?
Yes.
Are you up to date on the series, or?
Not really.
You don't really have to be so up to date on that, though, do you?
No, you know, it doesn't have like any sort of overarching story.
It's not heavily serialized.
Yeah, not heavily serialized at all. So no deep lore.
Yeah, that's kind of the impression I got. I watched a few random episodes here and there. I think the first episode was a little confusing for me.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know anything about the tone of the show or what the characters were like and stuff. And then by like the second or third episode, even though they were just random episodes, I kind of got it. Like I got what the characters were.
Also,
I'm like, this is kind of like the sad sack character.
This
is the like man character, and this is the fitness, the guy that's all, you know, boss and is all obsessed with himself. And, you know, it's like you start to to get a hang of who the characters are, and then everything starts.
And then everything starts to look like, yeah, like Charlie's the idiot.
Yeah.
And it's like
sad sack idiot, yeah.
The sad sack idiot. But the way they do these characters, it's like the way they do these characters, you know, they are convincingly people. They are not just like trope.
Oh yeah, I know certain people that miraculously fit pretty close to these all. Where I'm like, I know that character, you know.
well, that's scary. These people are sociopaths. So
well, they're like that, but not to that degree.
Yeah.
Like I know a guy who's a lot like who's the kind of like the fitness buff guy that.
Yeah. Are you talking about Matt?
Yeah. I know somebody who's a lot like Matt. But he's not like a sociopath. But like he has a similar sense of humor. He's, you know, it's like he's the same way about kind of getting obsessed with about kind of his physical appearance and stuff. It's like I know somebody who's like, you know.
I like the episode where like Dennis talking to Mac about his plan, where they're going to invite these women onto a boat and have sex with them, and like Dennis was talking about this plan, and he's like, think about it. We get these women out on a boat in the middle of the ocean, you know, with nowhere to go, with no way out, and with nowhere to go, no escape. They have to sleep with us, and then like Mac is like that, and like Dennis is like, because of the implication, and like Mac's like that's really messed up. It's like no Mac, we're not gonna rape them. It's just because of the implication.
They'll have sex with us in their own free will because they think we're gonna rape them.
Yeah.
God, so horrible.
No.
Oh god, yeah. Dennis and his sister. So yeah, I've seen a few things on that where it's been kind of funny. So most of my exposure before that to It's Always Sunny has always been like when different cast members had appeared on Conan or something, and they brought little clips here and there, you know, or like I guess two of them are married in real life.
Yep.
And one of them was talking about how I guess she went into labor and he had to like rush to the hospital. No, or maybe it was he injured himself. He had to rush to the hospital, but he was in blackface because he was playing Donald Glover, or not Donald Glover.
Danny Glover.
He was playing Danny Glover. Yes, Donald Glover. He was playing Danny Glover from Lethal Weapon. And they had pictures of him in the hospital in blackface.
Oh my god, that's hilarious. That's even better than the show. That's like something that would happen in the show.
Yeah.
And the fact that for real.
So yeah, so that's cool. I'm happy for, even though it's not a show that I ever really got into, it is something I've enjoyed a few reruns here and there, and I know the fan base is really loyal, so I'm happy for them that they have the show that's gone on for so long.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, everybody who's a Always Sunny fan, January 6th coming back. That is it for our podcast this week. We managed to get through it somehow without Kat guiding us, so.
Oh, we miss you, Kat. I hope Star Wars was awesome. In the best.
We'll have to talk to her again when we come back in 3 weeks, I believe. We're gonna come back, we're gonna record again on the 7th, I believe. Today we're recording again. So, until then, thank you everybody for watching. Check us out, TVEnthusiast.com. Check our YouTube channel, our Facebook, like us, you know, stalk us on Twitter. I am at Tyson Gifford. Will is at Voxel Hero. So yeah, go ahead and stalk us. Just don't stalk Kat. She doesn't like that. And yeah, enjoy Star Wars. I'm sure anybody listening to this is probably going to be watching Star Wars. So enjoy Star Wars, everybody. May the Force be with you. Thank you everyone for listening.
Force be with you.
Night.
If you would like to voice your opinion, send an email to theweeklyset@TVEnthusiast.com. TV Enthusiast is a part of the Enthusiast Media Network. Stay tuned to TV Enthusiast and the Weekly Set podcast for more